F?
Yeah. So letter F, I had an argument the other day with my brother Charlie, and I was saying F is for figuring out the facts. It's for getting the basic information, and he didn't like facts because he thought facts was making it a bit too abstract and a bit too boring and a bit too concrete. So he preferred the fundamentals of the subject because it still begins with F. But this is exactly what it is. Facts is shorter, it's easy to remember. But what are the facts of this subject? What are the fundamental principles? What's involved? What is the language? What is the vocabulary of this subject, this topic, this domain? And I think in my personal experience as a teacher and a learner, my biggest challenges with learning something have been when I didn't really deeply understand the fundamental things, the definitions, what are the facts of this subject. It's like trying to speak Chinese and not knowing any vocabulary, right? You're trying to do further maths without really understanding what's going on, what the symbols represent. And even when you know what they represent, do you really know? Do you really deeply know when you've got the like d by dx or partial differential equations, you know, what do these symbols really mean? What do they represent? And these symbols are shorthands for something that has an awful lot of meaning. But too many times, I think, as educators, we just skip over these and we just say, we'll just learn that. Kind of like, learn it like flashcards. But I think that if you really deeply understand the terms, the definitions, the equations, the rules, again, some more about the history and the development and the interrelation of this particular subject with other subjects that are near it and around it and so on. I think that's really important. Once you've got that platform, all other learning that involves these terms and words and definitions, whether it's a problem or analysis or an essay, is going to make a lot more sense to you.
Probably would. So I definitely felt that that thing you just said, where teachers kind of like skim over definitions because they're like, you know, we need to get to the problems, we need to get you to solve these solutions, to solve these past paper questions. Often left you with the definitions unclear. So the most recent example I remember is that I didn't completely understand some of the. It was I think in my first year when I was learning first brought up this concept, abstract concept of limits and you know, defining derivatives with limits and all that kind of stuff. So didn't really. I don't think I put the right effort right in the start. The first few weeks, you know, it's a little tough. Uni and
too much partying.
So I got to. Couple weeks into the term and I still didn't get it, and I think I spiraled into a kind of bad situation where I wasn't. I was going to lectures, I was really trying hard, but I wasn't really getting it because my fundamental definition wasn't there. And honestly, the definition only clicked when I was like a couple days before the exam, which was about 6-7 months later. And it's sad because I was never able to enjoy the understanding during the time. You
always felt a little bit uneasy about it if you didn't really understand these definitions. Now it's interesting, my way of explaining it to people is like, you've got to prepare the ground before you start planting the seeds. You know, you've got to, it's making the ground fertile.